Another team I'm not necessarily high on is Iowa State. And we were talking about this before we were getting to record. I'm not necessarily sure about this team. What about you, Don?
Yeah, similar to Kansas State, a team with a good reputation normally in the past, and a team that's really helped out the Big 12's reputation as a strong conference. And last year, they were hurt. Tyrese Halliburton, he didn't play the entire season, and then, of course, he goes down, and as a top NBA prospect, he's not going to risk it for a struggling team. He didn't come back, and then Iowa State, of course, got worse. Once again, similar to Kansas State, they have a decent recruiting class based off of their reputation they built in years prior, especially for Iowa State. They certainly had a little bit better of a reputation, at least prolonged reputation. So I think that this team has a little bit more potential than Kansas State, especially with Rasir Bolton, their top scorer last year. He's coming back. And then Blake Hinson, a transfer from Ole Miss, he averaged 10 points per game in the SEC last year. And I think they have some potential, and they're going to be an important bridge gap team, one of those teams that can really help the conference assert itself at the top when you compare those Power 5 conferences, which will help the other teams in the conference.
Yeah, this is a team that, to me, they're not too bad in the backcourt, actually, from Rasir Bolton and Trey Jackson and a good amount of transfers that they've brought in. This is actually a team that isn't too bad in the backcourt. But as we noted with the Big Ten, a lot of teams in the Big 12 have pretty decent backcourts. That different is what you have up front. And right now, they don't have a lot of size at the four, and they're going to have to rely on a transfer from Troy, Jaron Johnson, to be an effective small forward. And there are some other teams we'll get to in this conference that can play pretty effectively as an undersized lineup. For Iowa State, though, they may have a little bit of an issue with that because of the fact that their power forward position isn't necessarily as big as some other fours in this conference. And the team that I think that if we're going to go off of the same Tier 1, Tier 2A, 2B, and 3 that I mentioned with the Big Ten, I think Iowa State is pretty firmly in Tier 3. I'm not necessarily sure what they're going to be able to manage. Now, with that being said, pretty much anything can happen in the Big 12 as we've seen in years prior. Iowa State 5-13, only good enough for ninth in the conference. And even then, they were able to get some good home wins, 5 home wins in conference, which if you do the math, that means they didn't win a single road game in conference. That's going to be a big problem for them if they once again fail to do that.